So hey everyone, and in this video we are going to learn about Node.js. So this is an introductory video. In this video we are going to first of all understand what is Node.js, then we are going to learn about the history of Node.js, then why we should use Node.js if we have other languages, and what are the prerequisites. Then at the end we are going to install Node.js into our Windows PC. So let's begin with the first question, that is, what is Node.js? So Node.js is an open source server-side runtime environment that allows you to run JavaScript on the server. That is, you can run JavaScript on your computer. Okay, so remember previously we were trying to run JavaScript, but it was running on our browser. Okay, we can actually see the console log outputs on our browser. So we created specific videos on JavaScript, you can watch those. So there you would see that I would using my browser to actually see the outputs of the JavaScript code which we have written. So instead of getting the output there, you would be simply now getting the output in your machine. That is, you would be directly writing your code and you would be directly getting your output, just like your C++ programming language. You get the output in the same page. That's what I'm talking about. Wherever you write the code in VS Code in the terminal, you would get the output. So this simply makes JavaScript a normal programming language. Okay, so that's how some people actually call JavaScript a programming language. So Node.js is built on Chrome's V8 JavaScript engine. You don't need to understand that much about it, but yeah, which is the same engine which powers Google Chrome browser. Okay, so on the same whatever engine Google Chrome browser actually uses, the same engine, that is V8 JavaScript engine, is used to build Node.js for your normal computers. Okay, so Node.js is designed to be lightweight and efficient, making it well suited for building scalable network application and web servers. So now let's understand what is actually Node.js. So first of all, I told you that this is a server-side runtime environment. That means you would be building your backend using Node.js. So we have other languages like PHP, and you can also build your backend using Django. So we have a lot of different languages, but in this case we actually use Node.js. So Node.js is a backend language and you would be writing your backend code inside it. The benefit of Node.js is that it has JavaScript, and JavaScript, you know, has a lot of benefits and it's easy to learn. And if you're learning one stack, so obviously the backend would be Node.js. Okay, so now first of all, let's see what is the history. Okay, so what is the history? So Node.js has a very interesting history, as it was created by Ryan Dahl. And here's a brief overview of the historic development. So in 2009, Node.js was officially released, but its development began a year later. So it was created by Ryan Dahl, and who wanted a more efficient way to it was created by Ryan Dahl, build scalable network application. So he was frustrated with the limitations of traditional web servers that handled each connection with a separate thread or process. This led him to create Node.js, which utilized a single threaded event driven non-blocking input output model. Okay, so Node.js is actually single threaded. Now after the initial release, that is 2009, the Node.js was a significant departure from the traditional server-side programming. It used Google's V8 JavaScript engine, which allowed developers to write server-side code in JavaScript. This was a novel concept at the time. That means you can just write your backend in JavaScript. You were writing your frontend in HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Now you can also write your backend in JavaScript. So that was really crazy and a very big achievement of that time. Now in 2010, Node.js quickly gained popularity due to its performance, efficiency, and attracting developers and creating a thriving community. I mean, who won't be interested to write code in JavaScript? If you're writing your front end in JavaScript, obviously, if you feel that, yeah, I would be writing the same language in backend, so it saves a lot of time and it makes more sense. And I think there is no issue with this. Okay, so the introduction of Node.js NPM package, that is Node Package Manager, in 2010 played a crucial role in ecosystem of growth. NPM made it easy to share and manage libraries. In Node.js you have different libraries, so NPM is used to manage that. For example, we have Passport.js library, which is which allows us to manage the authentication of users. Similarly, we have Express.js. Similarly, we have JWT. Similarly, we have bcrypt. We have a lot of different packages which allows us to use different functionalities in Node.js. So this actually made Node.js a very popular language, and then after this it actually significantly accelerated the development. So after 2010, Node.js started to see adoption by many major companies and enterprises. It became popular for building web application, APIs, and real-time application. Yes, you can also build chat applications with Node.js, that is real-time applications. So it made a lot change in the industry then. So companies like Walmart and Netflix adopted Node.js for their web services. So you know that these are really big companies, and apart from this, a lot of companies are actually using Node.js along with other languages. Okay, so the formation of Node.js Foundation in 2015, it was formed to oversee the development of Node.js. The foundation aimed to provide a governance structure and ensure that the project's long-term sustainability. It also led to convergence of Node.js with a fork called io.js, unifying the Node.js community. Okay, so then after this we have the LTS support, that is long-term support releases. So in Node.js we have LTS releases from 2015 till present. They are actually releasing different LTS versions. So LTS simply means that previous, if you have some older version, that would still work properly. So LTS means that yeah, the version is very reliable. So when you're installing Node.js, you would see a term named as LTS. That means you're going to install that specific version, long-term support version. That means it would be working for very long. Okay, so Node.js introduced a long-term support release schedule offering stability and security for enterprises. It became more sustainable for mission critical applications. Okay, so if you have an application and you feel that yeah, right now they are releasing a lot different versions, which version should I choose? So in Node.js we have specific versions named as LTS, so you can choose those versions. They would be like working for a lot years and you don't need to update again and again. So now let's talk about the current and ongoing development. So in 2020s, Node.js continues to evolve. It is used for a wide range of application, from small personal projects to large scale enterprise level systems. The community and ecosystem around Node.js remain active and dynamic. Node.js has had a significant impact on web and server-side development, influencing the way developers create applications, particularly in a real-time or data-intensive scenarios. It continues to be a vital part of the modern web development. So this was a very basic overview of history of Node.js, and now you know that how actually Node.js evolved from just a JavaScript implementation on your computer to a very popular language, and a lot popular big companies actually use this Node.js language in their backend. Okay, so now why Node.js? If you have other languages like PHP, if you have Django, if you have PHP, if you have other backend languages, why you must use Node.js? So others are also great, they have their specific benefits, but Node.js is one of the many programming languages and platforms available for server-side development, that is backend development. And the choice of whether to use Node.js or another language depends on various factors. That means it depends on the situation, what's beneficial. Okay, so here are some reasons why developer might choose Node.js over other languages. So first of all, JavaScript is everywhere. So Node.js allows developers to use JavaScript on both server and client side. That means you would be using JavaScript with HTML, CSS in the front end, and in the back end you would be using Node.js, that is using JavaScript in the backend side. So this can lead to increased code reusability and easier sharing of code between different parts of web application. That means suppose you wrote code in Node.js which is in JavaScript format and you want to share it to the front end. So you don't need to make that much conversions if the code was written in some other language. Okay, so Node.js just keeps the code in JSON format and you're just sharing the code in JSON format, and it makes things a lot easier, and I think a less confusing part is there with Node.js. Okay, so developers who are already familiar with JavaScript may find Node.js a natural choice for server-side development. That means if you have already learned HTML, CSS, JavaScript, there are 90% of the chances you would be going with Node.js for backend. Okay, and only nowadays a few people actually go with other languages like PHP or Django, and they have their own benefits. If there is specific requirement by a company or if you have some project, then go for it. But if you want to make things a bit easier, then you can actually go directly with Node.js. Okay, Node.js is one of the languages which you use for backend. So let's go with Node.js, right? So Node.js event driven non-blocking IO model is well suited for building real-time applications. Okay, so if you want to build real-time application like chat application, or if you are building a chat bot, or if you are building a streaming service like Netflix, you can actually use Node.js. Okay, you can also build online games or streaming services or chat applications. It can efficiently handle many concurrent connections. That means if you have a lot of connections at the same time, Node.js can handle things very easily, making it a strong choice for scenarios where high concurrency is important. Now, one more important point of Node.js is it has large ecosystem. So Node.js has a vast ecosystem of open source packages and libraries available through the Node Package Manager. This extensive library of modules can significantly speed up the development by providing pre-built solutions for common tasks and challenges. That means we have a lot libraries or packages which actually help you a lot to do some tasks. For example, if you want to just hash a password, if your password is hj123, and if you want to hash a password into very strong sequence so that nobody can see your password, you can actually use bcrypt.js. Similarly, if you want to convert something, create a token out of something, so you can actually use JWT, JSON Web Token. Also, you want to manage authentication, that is login, sign up, and if you want to send some errors, if the password is incorrect, username is incorrect, so you can actually use passport.js to manage things like that. Okay, so Node.js has a lot packages for different purposes. And one more thing, that is express.js is also a package. That means you won't be learning express.js additionally, you'd be always learning express.js along with Node.js, because you can consider that whatever is written in Node.js, suppose if Node.js is taking 10 lines, Node.js express.js would be taking 2-3 lines. Okay, so that means it would be just decreasing the amount of code. Whatever code you would be writing in Node.js, you would be writing the same code in express.js, but in a smaller format. Okay, so you would be using express.js inside Node.js, but express.js is just a, you can say, framework of Node.js. Okay, so we'll be learning more about express.js later on, but right now let's stick to Node.js. Okay, then one more important thing about Node.js is performance. So Node.js is known for its speed and performance. It's designed for lightweight and efficient processes, making it a good choice for applications that need to handle a large number of requests quickly. Then community and support. So Node.js has a very vibrant and active community of developers, which means that there's a wealth of resources, tutorials, and support available. This can be advantageous when facing challenges during development. Then cross-platform compatibility. So Node.js runs on multiple operating systems including Windows, macOS, and Linux, which makes it versatile for a wide range of projects. That means if you are creating your backend in Node.js but your operating system is Windows, it would work, Node.js would work. If it's macOS, then it would also work. For Linux also Node.js works. So for example, you are deploying your application somewhere, that is on Amazon Web Services. Okay, so the main question is, Amazon Web Services actually use Linux. Okay, they have virtual machines which are mostly Linux. You can create Windows virtual machines also, but mostly you would be using Linux, because Linux does not have a Linux interface. In some cases you won't be having an interface, a good desktop system, and like that you would be just having a terminal of Linux and you would be just pushing your code. Okay, so in that case we have some Linux stuff like that. So we actually need a language which can be run easily on Linux. Okay, so other languages can also easily run on Linux, but Node.js can also run on Linux. So that's the benefit of Node.js. That means if your server, wherever you are going to host your backend, is built on Linux or Mac OS or Windows, in those places also you can just push your code which is written in Node.js very easily. Okay, so which makes it a versatile language for wide range of projects. However, it is important to note that Node.js may not always be the best choice for every scenario. So here are some reasons why developers might opt for other languages and platforms. So now I'm going to tell you why you must not use Node.js. Okay, because sometimes there are some cases, some projects where Node.js doesn't work properly. Okay, so let me explain you that. So first thing is CPU intensive task. Yes, Node.js may not be the best choice for CPU bound tasks that require significant computational processes. It's more bound to IO bound tasks. Like if you have concurrent processes, small processes, but very huge amount of processes which are taking very less time. So that type of things can easily be done by Node.js. But if you have a very intensive process, that means it's going to take a very large time to complete a single process, then that process can't be done by Node.js. For that we have other options, but you must avoid Node.js for CPU intensive processes. Okay, then diverse application needs. So some application may require different programming languages or platforms based on specific needs. For instance, Python is often chosen for data analysis and machine learning, while Java is commonly used for enterprise level application. Okay, so if you are someone who wants to build applications which require ML, machine learning or data analysis, so you would be going for Python, right? Because Python is the has better library support for that. And similarly for enterprise level applications, people actually use Java. So there are different languages for different purposes. Okay, then team expertise. So your team's familiarity with a particular language or framework can play a significant role in choice. So if your developers are more skilled in different languages, it might make sense to stick to other language. Okay, then legacy systems. So if you are working with existing legacy systems, or you have dependencies or technologies that aren't compatible with Node.js, you may need to use different language. Okay, so for example, the older systems, like if I'm talking about very old systems, they actually don't support Node.js, but they support languages like PHP. So you have to stick with PHP, right? So in conclusion, the choice of whether to use Node.js or another language depends on the specific requirements and goals of your project. Each language is great, so you would be using for different purposes. Okay, so now for merge stack you would be using Node.js. And if I talk about current situation, every computer supports Node.js, so you don't need to worry about the support part. Okay, every computer supports Node.js, whether you are a Windows user, Linux user or Mac OS user, everything would work. Okay.